We can't hear you, Jean.
We are live now. I was just checking, but we are live now. Thank you.
Super, thank you, Jean. Right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this decision day. The first item on the agenda is the domestic abuse service. And Michael, I think you're going to talk us through it. No, sorry, it's not. It's discharge to assess arrangements. Sorry, we switched it round. I've only seen the...
What a relief.
Yes, sorry, Michael, you can relax. Right, let's go back to discharge to assess arrangements then.
Thank you very much.
Jess, are you going to introduce it?
Yes, so just to say that this is a piece of work that we started with the ICB many months ago, and this is about renewing as an interim the arrangements for us to work together on those more complex discharge pathways coming out of hospital. So really important, and I will let Michael explain more about the parameters for this permission. Thank you.
Sorry, Michael, I knew you were speaking first. I just got the title wrong.
It's absolutely fine. And thanks for the introduction, Jess. So yes, the context of this is a continuation of our arrangement for discharging more complex individuals who are leaving hospital, and they are more complex because they require consideration for continuing healthcare funding and eligibility. That doesn't mean those people are entitled, it just means that they have an entitlement to be considered for that funding. We entered this arrangement in January of this year with an aim that we would be having an arrangement which would be more long-term completed by now. Regrettably, we haven't reached a longer-term arrangement. Our colleagues in the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Integrated Care Board have undergone a lot of change this year, and that has certainly delayed us being able to hit our aims and work through what is going to be an affordable process that ultimately benefits the residents of Hampshire. So we're asking for an extension on that basis to the short-term partnership arrangements under a Section 75 agreement, and that enables us to work with our NHS partners and to carry out some functions on their behalf. Our recommendations extend to the fact that we're going to be talking about the long-term arrangement and asks to give delegated authority to our Director of Adult Health and Care in consultation with the Executive Lead Member for Adult Social Care and Public Health to agree on the terms and conditions of that long-term Section 75 agreement and what will be then an associated spend. So we're still working with the original aims of the paper, but we are delayed in delivering that. If we're unsuccessful in reaching an outcome, it doesn't mean people will not be considered for continuing healthcare. It just means that will take place in hospital as opposed to outside of hospital. And we're still trying to enact the discharge to assess approach, which sees people leave hospital to have their assessment because that is the best place for them to be considered. They're more likely to be at their optimum and they're more likely to be able to recover to the best of their abilities. We do not expect this agreement to run for a year. In fact, we're poised to have conversations with our colleagues in the Integrated Care Board about whether or not we can reach a conclusion on this very quickly, because a longer term arrangement would put us on firmer footings, and the sooner we can get into that, or alternatively, the sooner we can move away from an interim arrangement, if that isn't going to work for both of us, the better. So the interim arrangements enable us to continue to work together, and that is the proposal before you today.
Right, thank you, Michael. I do think it's worth carrying on talking with them in the hope that we can get to some sort of resolution to carry on with this, because this arrangement is so much better than leaving people in hospital to be assessed. What would you rate your chances of getting there to be? If you had to put money on it, what would you go for?
Please, Jess.
I will come in there, Councillor Fairhurst. I think I am really heartened by the conversations that I'm having with Ros Hartley, who's the lead for partnerships and innovation within the ICB. And when she returns from our holiday next week, I know that this is a priority for her and I to talk about this, and we're looking to make a decision and work this through fully early in the new year. So we should have a calm and balanced approach agreed, I would hope, by the end of January. And with I'm hopeful that will be the case.
That would be wonderful.
It would be,
Yeah.
it would be wonderful, wouldn't it? So we're we're hopeful around that, but it's just making it clear, I suppose, that we're not committed to do anything at this point, despite this agreement. So this agreement is there for us to use should we need to, and it's just pointing out really that if for any reason it's not an agreement we want to act upon, then we're not beholden to it. We don't need to use that section 75 unless we agree as a county council that we want to. So that's an important part of this. I hope I've said that correctly, Bex.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks, Jess. Councillor Withers, have you have any questions?
Thank you, Liz. I think the only question I've got from up north here is it's all right talking about Hampshire and the Isle of Wight and this section 75 under the ICB for Hampshire, but where does it leave the residents up in the north that come under the Frimley ICB? I mean, they are Hampshire residents.
I'm happy to confirm, Councillor Withers, that the Frimley ICB has an arrangement with the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Integrated Care Board, and the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Integrated Care Board carry out this work on their behalf. So the Frimley residents do benefit from exactly the same offer, and it's exercised and delivered via this arrangement.
Yeah, and I think that needs to be mentioned in there, because if it was, Rushmore or Hart or Basingstoke, looking at it, it doesn't mention anywhere the collaboration in there in the agreement.
Good point, Councillor Withers. We can certainly bear that in mind next time and make sure that anything that returns will make that explicit. I think sometimes we forget to make the implicit explicit with regard to things like that. You're absolutely right to make that point. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Minahan.
I'm just turning my mic off. I haven't got any questions. I just think it's just community-based assessments to ease the hospital pressures really jumps out for me at this time, and improving outcomes for individuals, especially if that takes place near their place of home. That's all really I have to say about that one.
Thank you, Councillor Minahan. Right, I'm more than happy to approve, Michael, and I wish you the best of luck and really hope that we get some good news. And do we hold Jess to the end of January for the good news? Do we give you a period of grace? But anyway, happy to approve. Thank you, Michael.
Many thanks all.
Thanks.
Nice to talk to you. Bye, Nan.
Thank you. I'm actually now going to hand over to Councillor Oppenheimer, which is the next item on this decision day, which is domestic abuse service. Russell, would you like to take over?
Thank you, Liz. And I think we'll proceed straight then to item 2. I don't think we've got any deputations. I'll just introduce myself. I'm Councillor Oppenheimer, Executive Member for Health and Wellbeing, and we continue to stream live on the website. So item 2 is approval to spend on domestic abuse services. And I'd like to invite the Director of Public Health, Simon Bryant, to introduce this item, please.
Many thanks, Councillor Oppenheimer. So this spend is about our domestic abuse services, which is a duty of the council through the Domestic Abuse Act. As Director of Public Health, they take that leadership role of domestic abuse. So this is a decision to spend for the services, both services for victims or survivors, depending on what they want to be called, and also those who perpetrate abusive behaviour. That's a much smaller part of the contract, but it's really important that we take a systems approach to this. And look at that as a whole. Much of the money comes from a separate grant from government. We're just waiting for final confirmation on that budget coming down from government, but this decision day takes that into account. So if we the indications are we have that money coming through, but if it was less than we expected, we'd be able to amend the contract at any point to take that into account. So as I say, this is about provision to spend for the victim service, for the perpetrator service, which we do both of these in conjunction with the Office of the Police and Crime Commissioner, and then asking for delegated approval to me for the final amount, as I said, subject to the grant from the Department for DCLG Communities and Local Government. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Simon. Well, let me check with members, see if anyone wishes to ask anything or make any comment. Let's start with you, Bill. Do you want to come in?
No, it's obviously it's a vast amount of money spent over 7 years, and you know, and the second part there, I mean, there's 4 recommendations, and I agree with them totally. This subject matter is not going to go away, and we've got an important role to play.
Thanks a lot. Any comments or questions from you, Councillor Minahan? Leslie, and then I'll go to Liz.
No, I just think it really is an essential service. Without this support, there'd be many people trapped in abusive relationships and would really struggle to break free, to lead healthier, happy lives. And obviously, if they've got children, then this just promotes this cycle, it pays it forward. So yeah, I'm 100% in support of this. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Leslie. And Liz, did you want to say?
Yeah, it's just about the role of the PCC. I keep running into Donna, PCC, and Terry, her deputy, and they keep asking me to arrange meetings. And I've got several holds in my diary for meetings, but it is around domestic abuse. Is there a blockage somewhere between us and the office of the PCC, or is everything running smoothly, Simon?
I haven't seen any problems. I think there's a few things we might want to consider. One is the county council and upper tiers have a duty to have a domestic abuse board, which Donna's team do join and work very collaboratively. What we've done most recently, previously we did lead the commissioning of the perpetrator service, but actually that made sense due to the size of the service and the type of clients to do that at the Pan Hampshire level. So the PCC's office is taking that on and we are contributing, and then we're leading the victim stroke survivor service, which includes all elements as we've mentioned, you know, the refuge, the sanctuary scheme, the personal accommodation and community support, because it's much more about helping people in their community and thinking very differently about domestic abuse. So I can't see a blocker, Councillor Fairhurst, but if there's anything you want me to join you at a meeting or brief you, please do let me know.
Thank you for that, Simon. As soon as I get a definite date in the diary, I'll let you know. And if you want to join us, that's fine. Okay.
Many thanks. Yes,
thanks.
No problems at all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Liz. Leslie, did you want to come back in?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I don't know, it may have been in the report. Was there an evaluation on the success of the perpetrators programme?
Councillor Minahan, you're absolutely right. Perpetrators programmes are very difficult to evaluate. I think the biggest challenge we have is that the drop-off rate of people recognising they have some kind of abusive behaviour and then entering the service. Once they're in the service, the outcomes are good, but that there is that large drop-off. There's very little evidence-based research. So as part of this programme, we are evaluating as we go along to see what we can do. The money's much smaller, quite kind of appropriately because of that lack of evidence, but we really want to see what we can do. We recognise some of it may be related to alcohol and drugs, so of course we support those through some of the other public health services. It's a really under-researched area that we need to think about how we increase that, and our relationship with the university is helping that.
I just wonder on that point, if somebody undertakes like a domestic abuse perpetrators programme, if that is a flag, for want of a better word, you could put on their record with the police, and then obviously if they come to attention again for domestic abuse, and it might be some way of harvesting some sort of data. I don't know if that's available. Sorry, I can see your eyes are going up to the back of your head trying to think.
Trying to think through it.
Does that make sense? So if somebody undertakes a domestic abuse perpetrators programme, they would have a marker, a flag on their criminal record to say they've undertaken that, and then if they get in trouble again for domestic abuse, then there might be some way of notifying the relevant people. I don't know, it's probably too big an ask, but I'm sure that information is there somewhere. It's about harvesting it, which might be too difficult.
I think you're right in principle. I think you're really challenging me rightly to think about this. So some programs are done in prison and through the probation service if someone is convicted. If they're not convicted or just recognise their behaviour themselves, maybe because children's services are noticing it or somebody else, they can come to our programme so they don't have a criminal record. So I think, can I take that away and take it to the partnership board and come back to you with some proposals of how we can really, as you say, make sure that we understand the behaviours of people so that we can intervene earlier and better?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Sorry to...
No, it's a really good question, but I think it's not a straightforward place to be, but I really like the question.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. And Phil, you put your hand up during that discussion.
Yeah, the PCC and the Chief Constable of Hampshire have regular surveys. In fact, there's one just come out today. Is that subject matter in their surveys? Does it come? Is there feedback to you from their surveys that they do regularly?
I don't hear anything from their surveys, and I'm not completely sure what's inside them, but I'm very happy to link with the Chief Constable and see if there's any information that is relevant to feed in. We do have the police who are very active partners in our Domestic Abuse Partnership Board and very, very strong. So let me again take that back to the Partnership Board and see if there's anything we can learn. But it's a really good point.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much, everyone. I mean, for my part, I feel this is the right decision in the circumstances. We've got some uncertainty about funding, but it's pretty unthinkable that the MHCLG will cut the funding dramatically in this area. So I think that's a very, very unlikely scenario. I think we will get an equivalent amount of funding, and we've got the flexibility during the procurement process anyway. So I'm pretty happy that we need to get things moving now. I'm pleased that we're working with the Police and Crime Commissioner. I think it makes sense. We're likely to get a better deal. We're likely to get better outcomes for residents. And to a certain extent, it future-proofs us against what might happen during this period. There's quite likely to be some devolution deal during the period of this contract. So I think working across Hampshire does make quite a lot of sense. So I'm going to move to the recommendations, which are there on page 15. And I'm happy to approve the permission to spend up to the 38.5 million and the 1.5 million on perpetrator services. And I'm also happy to approve the delegating authority to the Director of Public Health to take this forward. So with that, I will say thank you very much to all of you and hand back to Liz to close the meeting.
Yes, thank you all very much. No doubt we'll see each other January now. It's the next decision day. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all very much. We can stop the recording.